Hello, YouTube. I'm Vince White. I'm an employment attorney, and we're speaking about one of my least favorite topics today, New York City, because it's relevant to a number of trends in the world of employment right now, and also because there's like a kind of a hilarious, zany public interest component to this. So let's dig in. Saul Fishman was the president of the Civil Service Bar Association, which is a union that represents many, but not all, of the attorneys from New York City. Kind of came out and said, "Hey, listen, the membership in my union has dropped 22% since the start of COVID." And this gentleman, his union represents attorneys in 40 agencies in New York City. So I think most of the agencies in New York City. This is a big group, right? He had started with a membership of 1,057 attorneys. That is now down to 831 attorneys. And I think we can extrapolate from that to some extent that there's been a similar or, in many cases, greater attrition in the agencies that he does not represent. So New York City is very clearly having a very difficult time holding on to attorneys and also hiring new attorneys. Now, this article, and I'll link the article down below, and Saul Fishman to some extent, and some of the other people speaking here, they really feel that Mayor de Blasio's policy to return to office is, you may remember, he sang a little song about you can't go to the club Sunday night and refuse to come to the office Monday morning because you're afraid of COVID, or he was not a mayor, right? De Blasio was not a mayor or a competent human being in any capacity, or even a good communicator. But that being said, they think that policy, that return to work policy, is why many of these attorneys are resigning. Now, I will say that most of the New York City attorneys work in what they would themselves call rat warrens, like some of the filthiest, grossest, pestilent-ridden offices you've ever seen. Like, if affordable housing in a project looked like these offices, there'd be court cases over it. Just, it's not okay. So certainly this work from home thing is a factor. Like, these offices are gross. Like, when you go there, they're using like pink, the backside of pink paper to print on sometimes. Like, they can't even get paper sometimes. That's how poorly these offices are run. This is how gross these offices can be. They have to be really careful leaving food out because there's vermin problems and stuff like that. Many of their offices are stacked, I think, literally to the ceiling. I want to say I've seen paper stacked to the ceiling, like so high that you're like, how do they get them up there? And it's like a hoarder cubby in the office that they work in. It can be really bad. They're not all that bad. Some of the ones in the courthouses are better. And some departments are treated better, right? The closer you get to the mayor, the more you're the golden child of the administration. You're more likely to have a competent cleaning service. You're more likely to have a little fresh carpet, maybe, right? But as bad as that is, I gotta tell you, I don't think that's why these attorneys are all leaving. It's a factor, but I don't think it's the full factor. And I'll tell you why. These attorneys, their salaries are posted, right? We know what they earn. Everyone knows what they earn. It's on the Googles. So, and I'm not mocking these attorneys, but when somebody comes to me like, "Oh, special fed at Corp Counsel, these are the elite stormtroopers of the New York City legal machine." Are they? There's some really good people there. But if they're the baddest, biggest, worst attorneys, and they're just going to crack heads and take names, why are they earning $140K at very high levels of their organization? Because most of the country, you may not really understand this, but 140K in New York City is like, it's not New York City homeless, but it is New York City with a roommate, right? The average rent in Manhattan is $5,000 a month for a 1 bedroom right now. Been that way for a couple of months. Do the math. 140K, you're not living high on the hog. You're barely living. You're not saving for retirement. And almost all of these people are going to have student loans, which is probably why they have this job. They're under a huge strain of student loans, and some student loans, some will be discharged if you engage in public service after a decade, right? Now, not for nothing, there's a lot of issues with Betsy DeVos and all these craziness where it's in question as to whether these loans will actually be discharged or not, right? It's getting so scary that it's almost come down to like who's in power, and it's not like even a partisan issue anymore. It's just like most politicians are disinterested in public service, like the discharge. It's very scary. So that's why these people are in these jobs. They're clinging to these jobs to discharge hundreds of thousands of dollars of loans. They're generally not there because they want to be there. Not a nice job. Caseloads are too high. New York City does a lot of really bad things. It's not like you feel good about protecting New York City. It's essentially like a job protecting corruption and incompetence. Day in and day out. Oh, boy, I'm working at Special Fed Corp Counsel. I got to defend a rapist today who raped his staff. It's not a feel-good hit. Like, that's the job. And New York City will absolutely back that person and be like, yeah, go defend that person. Go defend that person on a public docket in federal court. You go defend that rapist. This is not a nice job. These people don't want to do this. They kind of have to, because they're barely hanging on under the student loan debt. So when the inflation hit and all the troubles with the public service discharge came down in rapid succession to each other, a lot of these people and a lot of these agencies said, what the hell am I doing here? What the hell am I doing in this rat-worn closet working for a person who can't even get himself dressed in the morning? And why? Why am I here? Why is my life garbage? And they woke up and they left, right? Because when you have inflation, it hits everyone. If $1's buying less food and paying less rent, right? And so you need more dollars, you probably can't work for the chump change that New York City pays anymore. It's probably not possible. So, and I get it. Other parts of the country, people are out there saying like 140K sounds amazing. First off, that's not what they start at, right? They start very low. 140K is what some of them achieve in like upper tier middle management, right? And like they have to give up some of these people have to give up their union protections to get to 140K. It's wild. So the job has been priced out, right? This is just in New York City. I understand 140K in the middle of nowhere could be great. You'd be living high enough. You could be very happy. In New York City, that is not the case at all. And yeah, you're going to be like, oh, no, my cousin's in New York, and she makes 70 grand a year, and, you know, she's getting her career started, and it's going great. Yeah, of course. And she has a roommate, and she has a lot of great career prospects. And the idea is there's going to be a big trajectory up. Probably she doesn't have kids yet, right? But it is really hard to do things like live alone, have children, save for retirement, pay off your student loans as you age in New York City on what New York City chooses to pay its attorneys. It was hard before inflation. It was hard before all the scares about public service loan discharge. And frankly, all of that is a way bigger issue than work from home. Because work from home that really touches on whether or not you're happy. No one's happy that works for the city. No one. But the inflation issue and the public service loan issue, those touch upon if you can survive and if someday you'll be able to retire. And when you do the math and you read the way the winds are going, the answers are not good, right? Which brings us to our next component here. And this is fascinating. You're going to love this. So Eric Adams apparently is starting up a pro bono program to bring in junior associates at big law firms to work for free. Now, a couple problems there. Junior associates at big firms, depending on the industry they're in, generally don't know how to do much. Big law firms often have an extended period of research and writing where you're like a partner's minion and you do almost an apprenticeship and you're running around between partners trying to get more work, trying to bill as much as you can. And usually it's primarily research and writing. And that's really important. But it is but one of the skill sets that an attorney would need in litigation. And many of these jobs that New York City has are litigation jobs because New York City is always in thousands of litigations at any given time. All kinds of litigations. Real estate litigations, fines, litigating with deadbeat landlords, litigating with restaurants who don't agree with their grade from the health department, litigating with people who feel the police have brutalized them, right? Like litigating thousands of workplace discrimination claims, thousands of workplace sexual harassment claims, like all the time, right? So there's all these litigation jobs. That's not really something a junior associate in big law is going to know how to do. You know how I know they don't know how to do it? They've never done it before. Problem. It's the first problem with this plan of our esteemed mayor, Eric Adams. It's not my mayor. I don't live there anymore. The second problem is why? Why would embattled big law, where many of the firms, depending on their industry, if you're a bankruptcy firm, you're doing great right now. If you're dealing with energy clients, you're doing great, right? But most of the big law firms are not doing great right now. Why would these embattled firms pay $200, $250K to a young associate and then have them spend a significant amount of their time working for free for New York City? When you do pro bono work, usually you do it for someone who could never pay, who could never find help otherwise, right? Personally, for me, children only. I'm interested in helping children. Specifically, if I could help a hungry child, the child does not have enough to eat, that is the kind of pro bono work that I would be interested in, right? New York City has a budget in the billions with a B. Hey, I know I'm a billionaire, but come work for me for free. I need your help. Compelling. Oh, yeah. Let me make sure I help you. You who suck down billions of dollars a year but don't actually seem to help people in your city. Yeah, I'd like to help. Where do I sign up to work for free? Oh, okay, thank you. So it's a really interesting play here. And, people are like, it's just a Band-Aid. It's not a Band-Aid. It's nothing. This is not happening. And I don't understand who thought it would. Like, Eric Adams brought in a fellow. Let me get his name. From Big Law. Let me find his name here. Here we go. His chief legal advisor, Brendan McGuire, comes from some international firm. I don't really think Brendan McGuire, if this is his plan, I don't think he's got his pulse. on the world of legal staffing. I suspect maybe he's better at a dinner party than in the real world. I don't know the guy. I don't know the guy. But what kind of idiot would come up with this plan? Like, what are you thinking? What's the logic? I can't even figure out the logic. Yeah. So we're losing a lot of law firms from New York City right now. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the biggest ones with the highest overhead that pay people the most, and we're gonna tell them that we're gonna let their attorneys work for us for free, and they're gonna love it. It's nice. I can't. Like and subscribe. Helps me to help more people just like you. I'll link the article below.